Time to do some maintenance on the old Husky here.
This is pretty much the worst video ever made.
Napoleon, like anyone can even know that.
Hello my friends, and welcome to Tom's Tinkering and Adventures. Look at that guy right there. Alright, today we're going to be working on my 2008 Husqvarna TE450. We're going to be doing a valve clearance check, and I'll even show you how to adjust the valves, even though the chances are pretty slim that this one is going to need an adjustment. I've had this bike for, and I'm trying to remember, 11 years maybe? 10, 11, 12, right around there. I'm going to have to go back a little bit. And actually, I'm about to get rid of it. So I don't like to pass things on usually that need maintenance. So I'm going to do oil change, filter change, valve clearance check. I have already done coolant on this thing. I'll check the air filter, and it's going to be ready to go. Now, like I said, I've had this bike for a long time, and I think I've done one valve adjustment in the entire time I've had it. And these bikes are easy to check the valves on and easy to adjust the valves on. The Husqvarna motorcycles from probably early 2000s. I don't know the exact date, 2002, 2003, 2004. This design engine, so you have the TE250, the 450, the 510, the 310 a little bit later, and then also now in the last several years, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, SWM, the company that basically purchased the factory where they made these bikes. This was an Italian design Husqvarna made by MV Agusta, I believe, owned them. Husqvarna is a Swedish brand. But anyway, SWM purchased the rights and the factory, and they are making a very similar bike to this today. So everything I do should correlate to those models as well. I think it's called the RS500 and the RS300 or something. Okay, so one thing I really like about this bike, it's very simple to get the seat off and basic maintenance. So no tools required. You can get to the battery, the air filter, which is a little bit dirty. We'll clean that. And put in a nice lithium battery here. Okay, the tank. I need to remove one bolt in the front. These 2 bolts on the side. If you have a stock tank, the plastics on the side kind of attached down here to the radiators and all this, so it'll be a little bit different. Here's what we look like with the tank off. Here's the connection. If you have a 2008 or newer Husqvarna, you have fuel injection. Actually, I think some of the 310s were carbureted past this, but whatever. If you have a fuel injected model, here's the disconnect, so you just got to squeeze the sides of that. There's not a lot of room under there, so just be careful. And then there's the fuel pump connection. Now the next thing you want to do is remove the 4 cam cover bolts. Before you do that, if you have a dirty bike, please wipe it off, clean it up, blow it off with the air compressor. There's 2 on this side and 2 on the other side. I think I have 1 left yet. That one right there, and then the cam cover comes off. Now hopefully you have an owner's manual or service manual. The one that the Husqvarna comes with is actually pretty good. It shows how to do all the basic maintenance. It doesn't show how to do like an engine rebuild, but it still shows how to do this sort of stuff. It says to pull the spark plug out. You can do that if you want to, but I just use the cylinder decompression cable, and then I use the Kickstarter to turn it over until this mark lines up with this little notch here. It's kind of hard to see. There's the notch right there. See the notch? And I've highlighted the mark. I must have done this a long time ago with some like whiteout. So we're lined up right now so we can check our valve clearances. You also want to double check to make sure that the valve lobes are pointing at least in an upward fashion, so they're not pushing the valves down. So I usually just kick it through with the Kickstarter. I just use my hand, and like I said, I use the compression release up here, which when you pull that in, I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see this. See that? It opens one of the exhaust valves a little tiny bit, so you can push it through with your hand. And now we're going to get our feeler gauges out, and we will check that the valve clearance is 10 to 15 hundredths in millimeters for the intake and 15 to 20 for the exhaust. So let me get those feeler gauges. Probably can't see that on there you go, just got to get it in the right light. 0.102 millimeters. So that's our minimum limit. And sliding under the left one just fine, and sliding under the right one just fine. 9 times out of 10 you're going to have a tight valve rather than a loose one, but start with the smallest, then move up to the largest and make sure that the largest doesn't fit in there. And the exhaust valve is just the same. Let's see if we can see it over here. 0.152 millimeters, 152 thousandths, or however you want to say it. Slides under there nicely under the right exhaust. Slides under there nicely under the left exhaust. I've already checked these. 15 fits, the 20 doesn't. That was our specs, if I remember correctly. 15 to 20. So very easy. Now, like I said, these things very rarely needed adjustment. I think I have adjusted one valve total ever. I don't remember how many miles are on here. We can check that later, but well, I've got an hour meter over here. 360 hours on this engine, and one valve adjustment. I don't remember how many were on it when I got it, but that's that. Now, if you have to adjust these valves, usually on an overhead cam engine like this, you have to remove the cams. And honestly, that's not terrible on this bike either, because they run off of a central gear here, so you don't have to take the chain off, which is nice. But you know, you can take them off if you want to. It's 4 bolts. You just got to go back there and torque. But on here, on this model, I don't know how well I'm going to be able to show you this, but there is a little clip between the cam lobes, between the rockers, and I might have to just pull it out and show it to you, because I don't think I'm going to be able to get in there. But there's a clip, and you just pull that out with like a pick, and then you can slide the rockers over. So you pull the clip out, and you can slide the rockers to the center, and then the shim is sitting right on top of the valve spring right there. So it's very, very easy to do. No removing cams, no having to torque down the cam caps, no having to reset the cam chain tensioner. A very nice design. I mean, taking the tank off, getting to this point has taken me 20 minutes maybe, and I'm making a video. So to check the valves in this thing is easy, to adjust them is very easy. No adjustment required today, but that's what you got to do. I wish I could get in there a little bit better. Let's see if the picture in the manual helps any. Yeah, right here they're showing that little clip, and it just snaps onto the center of where the rocker arms go. You just lift the clip out with I usually use a pick, slide the rocker arm over, remove the shim with a magnet, measure it, replace it. You know, usually, like I said, your valve clearance closes, so you're gonna have to put a thinner shim on there. And all you gotta do is clean everything up and button it back up. So this is a very nice machine to work on. When it comes to getting the cam cover back on, of course, I should have told you when I take it out, pull it out on the left-hand side, bring it back in. Just be careful. You got to kind of go around this hose, so if you can move that hose a little bit. Of course, all the lines and stuff are kind of in the way, but it's really pretty easy to get in here. Reinstalling it, this is your best friend right here. Whatever kind of little ratchety wrench you can get, just much easier. There's not a lot of room to get in there with a socket and a ratchet. And this has been a constant issue on this bike. This piece here, it always leaks. Probably would be best to replace it. It looks like it's seen better days, but I always put a little bit of sealant of some sort around it, and that has helped every time I've replaced it since I figured that out. You know, the leakage is just an annoyance. This bike has a couple of annoying little leaks, but besides getting oil on things, it doesn't affect anything. Okay, I've continued on. I've done an oil change, pulled the air filter out, cleaning that. But like I said, these bikes are pretty easy to maintain. Parts are still available for them. So if you see one pop up for sale, maybe mine, don't be afraid to jump on them. Nice, powerful bike, pretty good suspension, 6-speed transmission. Yeah, hey, it's like I'm making a for sale ad here. Yeah, so there you go. All right, if you're liking my content, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. And if you're not already a subscriber, please consider doing so. Thank you very much for watching. Get out there and find your adventure. Adios.